We'll get started in just a couple of more minutes. More people are signing in. Everybody here have their ballot cards. I've seen the ballot clerks up here. Thank you. One more minute. Okay, we'll get started. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Rick Lawton. I'll be the moderator here tonight, as I have been for somewhere around 20 years. The position's open for election every year if anybody's interested, but it's usually a hard-fought campaign. Before we really get started, I'd like to thank Bill Leslie. He's been our clerk for about 15 years, and Bill's not going to be the clerk after this round here, so I want to thank Bill for all his work and help. If you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to, let me explain how we're going to operate tonight, and then we're going to have a Distinguished Service Award. As always, we try to follow Robert's Rules of Order as best we can. We'd like to limit people to 5 minutes each. Everybody gets to speak on every item. If you want to speak again, please let the people in front of you who haven't spoken have their turn, and then you'll get another chance. If you have a question, please direct it through me, the moderator. I'll get somebody up here to answer your question. So we've done it in the past. It seems like it always works. It's a bigger crowd this year than last year. So before we start our work of the evening, we have Denise Day with a Distinguished Service Award.
Good evening. This year's Distinguished Service Award goes to Jessie Morrell. Jessie has been such an incredible force in so many ways for the Oyster River Cooperative School District. When Andy Lathrop first met her as part of the parent interview committee, he knew at that point that if he was to be selected, that she would be one parent he would absolutely want associated with our athletic booster clubs. She has been instrumental in revitalizing the boys' soccer and basketball boosters that were, for all intents and purposes, non-existent. Her desire to help our student athletes by supporting behind the scenes is unmatched by any parent he has worked with in 15+ years in athletic administration at any school. She is so motivated to make the experience for our kids the best it can be. Andy expressed that he cannot say enough good about her, and I certainly hope she will stay active in the community as much as she can. Jessie's expertise in health and wellness have had a tremendous impact on the district. Her 10+ years on the Wellness Committee has resulted in a complete update of the district wellness policy to align with the modern standards for health, wellness, and nutrition. Her research and collected data for a change in the start times, as well as the Student Wellness Survey, resulted in the district revising the start time for all students. She continued to support district efforts to improve student health and wellness in the district. As stated by Kimberly Wolf, Oyster River High School nurse, I have had both the opportunity and pleasure to know Jessie Morrell as a parent and as an active member of the ORCSD Wellness Committee. Jessie's dedication to her family and the Oyster River community is invaluable. Her willingness to go above and beyond never goes unnoticed. You can always count on Jessie to lend a helping hand. Jessie's hard work ethic combined with her contagious personality make people naturally drawn to her. Although her role as a parent of a current Oyster River High School student is rapidly coming to an end, we are truly grateful for her continued commitment to the district, students, and greater community. Heather McAnoff, Oyster River High School counselor, stated that Jessie was always student-focused in our wellness meetings. Her desire to ensure all children have equal opportunity to access their education by taking part in healthy practices was always evident. Jessie is a true team player, always willing to work towards the goal of wellness for our district. Suzanne Philippone, Oyster River High School principal, sums it up well by saying, Jessie gives of herself and her time to our school community in ways that are both seen and unseen. She is supportive and caring to all, adults and kids, and we are extremely fortunate to have her as a part of our school community. In closing, and on behalf of the school board, we want to thank Jessie for her insight, research, and continued dedication to the students of the Oyster River Cooperative School District. It is humbly accepted and greatly appreciated. Jessie.
Thank you very much. It's very unexpected. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start our work of the evening. The first thing I will do is read the MS-26. It states, I certify that on January 24th, 2020, I posted the MS-26, the default budget, and the written warrant attested by the school board of the Oyster River Cooperative School Districts in the town of Durham at the Oyster River Middle School and Oyster River High School, the place of meeting in the town of Lee at the Massway School, and in the town of Madbury at the Meharmet School, signed by Wendy DeFrucio, and it's been notarized. Now on to the work of the evening. Oyster River Cooperative School District, State of New Hampshire, 2020 school warrant. To the inhabitants of the Oyster River Cooperative School District of Durham, Lee, and Madbury, qualified to vote upon the district affairs, you are hereby notified to meet at the Oyster River High School in said district on the 4th day of February, 2020, at 7 o'clock in the evening for session 1 of the annual school district meeting for the discussion of the Articles 3 through 5 and for any amendments thereto. Warrant articles whose wording is prescribed by law shall not be amended, and no warrant article shall be amended to eliminate the subject matter of the warrant article at session 1. Official balloting for the school district officers, Article 1 and 2, and on Articles 3 through 5 will occur at town polling locations on Tuesday, March 10th, 2020. The town of Durham at the Oyster River High School, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The town of Lee Safety Complex, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And the town of Madbury Town Hall, 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Article 1 will be to choose a moderator for the coming year. Article 2, to choose 2 at-large school board members for the ensuing 3 years. The next thing we have is Article 3, and it will be presented by Ryan Cisnero. Sorry. Ryan.
Warrant Article 3. Article 3, shall the district raise and appropriate the sum of $49,847,732 gross budget to construct and equip a new middle school on the site of the current Oyster River Middle School, including new athletic fields and demolition of the Oyster River Middle School, known as the project, and authorize the issuance of up to $49,847,732 of bonds or notes in accordance with Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and authorize the school board to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the dates, maturities, interest rate, and other details of such bonds or notes, and raise and appropriate an additional sum of $625,000 from taxation to pay debt service on such bonds or notes due in the 2020-2021 fiscal year, and authorize the school board to accept on behalf of the district any federal, state, or private funds that may become available to fund the project and use such funds to reduce the amount of bonds or notes issued for the project and to take any other action necessary to carry out this vote. The school board recommends this appropriation, and 3/5 ballot vote is required. I'd like to move this warrant article to the ballot.
Is there a second? Second. Explanation, please.
Well, this is what we've been working on for a while now. This project actually goes back, I want to say 5 years, but in reality it goes back to about 1935 and 1936. As many of you know, this original building was built back in 1935, 1936. As you can see in this picture here, and the car parked next to it, you can see how old this building is. If this was still the original building, it probably would be fine because it's one building, you know, with one envelope, but it's not. This is today's middle school, which is now 84 years old. That's the obviously the main entrance if you've been there. But let's go through a little bit of the history of this building. The first picture we showed you, I read the original building back in 1935-36. You can see how it fits into the footprint of the current building. We added our first addition in 1949, which is now the main entrance that you see now, plus the building along Co Drive that you see as you drive down. Two more additions were added, one in 1954, which is the large classroom portion you see in the front as you drive up Denison. And also we filled in, again on Co Drive, the other side of the building in order to make it bigger. Then in 1970, that was part of 1979. And in 1979, we also added what you know now as the multipurpose room. The final addition, the fourth addition, was in 1996. That was the gym. You'll see in addition to what is now known as the cafeteria, which actually the music class does their learning now, and also a section off the back, which is another wing built off the back in order to fulfill the needs that we needed at the time. During all these years, that current middle school, it served as the high school, it served as the elementary school, currently serves as the middle school, and we've had 4 additions onto it, stretching the school to basically, we look at the roof size, is about 3 football fields. So that's a lot of building to heat, it's a lot of building for electricity, it's a lot of building for someone to walk if they have to get from one end to the other. Winston Churchill summed it up very well when he says, "We shape our buildings, therefore they shape us." So why do we need a new school? There's many safety issues involved in the current school, both inside and outside. There are inadequate academic spaces, also in illogical locations. Our infrastructure is inefficient and expensive to maintain. We have minimal ADA compliance and accessibility. We are ADA compliant, but we are ADA compliant in 1996 when our last addition was made. We are not compliant if we did a remodel today. It will be much more in-depth in order to do that. Accessibility is also an issue. Right now we have 2 elevators. One goes from the basement to the first floor, and then you have to go to another elevator to go up to the second and third floor. We also have wheelchair lifts on each stairwell, which do break from time to time. We get them fixed immediately as fast as we can, but they do move slowly, and it is very difficult for somebody who has special needs to get around this school. And we do have some kids right now in that school that are severely physically disabled that do have a problem moving around that school. The current school is expensive to renovate, and even if we did renovate, would not resolve many of the academic or safety issues. As I said before, the roof's equal to 3 football fields. This picture you may have seen before. This is where the school buses pick the kids up and drop them off. You'll notice that is also a parking lot for the staff. It's also where the kids do recess. It is actually very stressful to see the kids moving around with all these big buses around because you can't always see them. Anything could happen where somebody can get hurt. The number one reason why children actually get hurt in school or are harmed is actually due to traffic collisions. It's not due to anything else that people say. So this can get very, very stressful for administration, for teachers. It's actually to the point where teachers would prefer not to monitor this, but we have to have an administrator monitor this in the morning and the afternoon. If anyone that's been down there knows Mr. Sullivan does this every day. Stressful enough where when he started this job, he actually had a full head of hair, and you'll see him now. He doesn't have much at all. So it is very stressful. Sorry, Bill. But it has been stressed to us. It is extremely stressful to monitor this area. It is just not ideal situation for children to be moving around in traffic, especially school buses. Our infrastructure is failing. This is our current plumbing issues and electrical panels. We still use fuses in some areas of this building. Now, obviously, that plumbing problem was fixed, but we're at the point where fixing it is getting to be quite expensive. We had some parts that failed on us. Normally, it would be $500 to replace them, but they didn't make it anymore, so we had to have it machined. And in order to have a machine, it ended up costing us several $1,000s to replace. And that came right out of our capital improvements budget. We also have, obviously, electrical issues. When you're joining 5 different sections of a building together, there's obviously a lot going on in between to the point where we don't know sometimes, because the plans aren't exact, we don't know where some of these electrical and pipes are going. And that can be very difficult for our maintenance people to fix whatever problems we have or to troubleshoot a problem. Other dangerous safety issues, a lot of the kids, we have a great deal, unlike a lot of other middle schools, we actually have a great deal of walkers. One of the reasons is we're right in downtown Durham, so we're close to a lot of neighborhoods where they can walk, and it gets to be very unsafe. Anyone who's dropped their kids off in front of that school can attest that it's pandemonium. It's kids walking in front of other cars, not paying attention, could be drivers not paying attention. It's another nerve-wracking and stressful situation for a lot of us. 45% of our classrooms are substandard, either by size or by quality. What I mean by size is the average classroom should really be about 900 square feet. Many of our classrooms are not even close to that. You'll notice the picture on the right. That's actually the old, what I used to call home economics back in my day, the home economics classroom, which is now, I believe, a French classroom. You'll notice there's 3 stoves there. There's one more you can't see. There's a microwave in the back there somewhere, but the problem is there's a lot of pipes going into that room, and a lot of, we still have backup going into that room, backup the smell of raw sewage getting into that room, and especially the room right next to it. As recent as a week and a half ago, the classroom right next to the one on the right actually had to be evacuated, and the students actually had to be moved because of the smell of sewage that was backing up. The difficult part with that was we had 3 blueprints of that area. One said there was no trap there, one said the trap was somewhere else, and the other one didn't help us at all. So it was quite a dilemma for our maintenance department, but luckily we have an outstanding maintenance department led by Jim Rizicki, who really does a great job of troubleshooting all the problems in this building and really putting it together. I always call them the trauma team, because they come in like an emergency room, come in and fix whatever major issue is going on and get us back up running. This, believe it or not, is the ceiling of a 5th grade classroom. That was put in many, many years ago with the thought that it would handle the acoustical problems that that room had. I don't know if it works or not. I mean, it's scary when you go in there to see what type of some of these the shape of some of these classrooms. You know, the teachers do an outstanding job of doing the best they can with what they have. We have issues of windows that can't even be secured on the 2nd floor. Matter of fact, I believe over one of the vacations last year, we had a window blow open and actually pipes froze in that room, and we had water in there. So there are structural problems in this school that are very difficult to really fix. Music instruction occurs in the cafeteria. We actually, because our cafeteria is undersized, we have to have 4 lunches a day. We really should have 2. The area in the back, you'll see between the pillars, is actually the music class being taught in the cafeteria. You saw that addition that I had mentioned earlier on the back of the cafeteria. That's the addition, and we actually use it for music. Now, the downfall to that is, now, first of all, it's not acoustically, adequate to do a music class. Number 2, you only have limited access to it because there's a lunch in place, 4 lunches a day, and you are literally putting away and taking down, setting up and putting down chairs 3 to 4 times a day for classes, or music stands, or what have you. This is that same section, but you'll see there's instrument storage in the cafeteria as well, because we don't have room to store instruments. There are some parents that buy their kids their own instruments. They spend a lot of money on it, and we don't put them in a room or a secure area where they should be, with the right humidity and everything else that goes along with some of these instruments. You'll see the stands and the chairs there as well as the lunch tables on the left. So you see, it truly is a multi-use area, although it was designed for a cafeteria. You'll see the ADA handicap compliance from 1996. That is a wheelchair ramp. Moves very slowly up and down the stairs, but if you look down that hallway, there's actually 2 or 3 sets of stairs that they have to go down. So if you are in the oldest section of the building and you need to go to the gym, you have to go down 2 elevators, and then you have to go down these handicap accessible ramps just to get to the gym, which could take as long as 25 to 30 minutes. That's lost instruction time. That's not effective use for the student. Really, the student is being shortchanged. And sometimes teachers have found it's just quicker just to take them outside and go outside to the next section rather than spend the time doing this. It's just more, it's more expedient. I don't think that's, that's probably not too fair to the student. So here's the proposed middle school. I'm going to ask the architect, Ron Lamar, to come up and join us, who's been working with us for a couple years now on this, to go over a little more in depth on the building itself, and then we'll come back and talk about the financial aspect, which I'll get a little more in depth into. You could have came over here, Ron.
That was adventurous. So this is the proposed middle school. As Brian said, we've been working on this. And we started out this entire process by meeting with the community, the students themselves, staff, parents, and we talked about what is the story of your school. So every community and every school is different, and we really wanted to dig in that what makes Oyster River so special. The 4 things that we came up with in all of these meetings was sustainability, academics, safety, and wellness. Those became the guiding principles to the project, and everything we have done is focused on those 4 pillars. First, when we talk about safety, the first thing we did, if you can see the pointer, the existing field is where the existing building, the new field is where the existing building is now, in this area here. And the first thing we did to address some of the things that Brian spoke about is we're separating the parent drop-off from the parking, and we're separating that also from the buses. So in order to make the Denison situation much safer, we now have vehicular traffic completely separated between the buses and the cars for parent drop-off. That also provides us with a field. The idea of the concept of the project is to build a new middle school while the existing middle school remains operational, and once that's done and occupied, knock down the existing school and build that field right on top like you see. This is just a quick video coming across the new field, and if you're a parent dropping off your student in the morning, you will come down Denison and then enter into the site entrance drive. This is an aerial view of the school that you see there. As the parents come around, they will drive in, and as they drive in, they can loop around here. And as you see, the sidewalk is on the passenger side of the cars all the way across. So the students get out in a safe way. They never cross the cars. The student will come across the walkway. These windows, this smaller section of the building right here, this is all administration and staff. They all have eyes on the entire entrance sequence as students arrive at school, as parents arrive at school. And this takes you around to the front door, again, which is completely supervised by staff and administration on both sides of the front door. We have another quick video. If you're arriving at school up Co Drive, there will be a sidewalk that connects the high school with the middle school. But as you come up Co Drive, this is where the buses will drop off as they come around from the middle school. And as the buses drop off in the bus loop, what you see here is that's the music program on the inside of the school. So we've got the 4 lines and the musical notes on the side of that music recital hall. So as the buses come in Co Drive, they drop off here. Again, all of the doors are on the passenger side for a safe sidewalk. When you get off the bus, you have the field on the left, and you're coming down a safe walkway, so you never, as a student, have to cross the buses. All of this area, again, is administration. These motifs that you see on the front of the building, those are going to be the motifs that come from the elementary schools, 1 elementary school on each side. And as you approach the front door, it's completely seen and supervised by all the staff and administration as students arrive at school every day. So safety was taken into account very heavily during this entire project, from the curb line, as you see, all the way into the building. Just to familiarize you with the building a little bit, all the red that you see here is counseling, nurse, administration, staff, and this gives them a clear view of the entire entrance sequence around the building. There's 1 main front door, so everybody comes in the front door as a controlled access into the school. There are obviously egress doors all around the school. From a safety perspective, again, what you see here is as students come in the door, there's layers. Those are layers of locked doors so that as the parents come in or visitors come in, they can come into a vestibule, but then they have to go into the administration and then out into the lobby, so nobody can now come straight into the school at any time. What you see here on the first floor are all the common spaces, which you don't see are the common or the core classrooms, if you will. They're all on an upper floor. So anything that takes place at the front door, anything that takes place at the lower level, we can essentially lock down the stairways so that there's no access to the classrooms on the upper floors. What we have here in the teal is the athletic center, which is the gymnasium, the adaptive PE locker areas. What you see here in the purple, that's the wall that you saw from the video. The purple is the music program, chorus, orchestra, and the recital hall that seats 900. The yellow is the library that works off of the common area. That common area doubles as extended library space, and it'll be used for about an hour and a half a day for the 2 lunches, and the rest of that time it is dedicated to academics. And then in the orange here, we have the kitchen. So we've basically started to take a look at how safe can academics be in a school. This is a video of coming in that front door. So as you come in the front door through the layers of security, you then come into this common area. At the end is the library. Off to the right is the entrance to the recital hall. And off to the left, behind those, the casework, or the display cases, I should say, is the gymnasium. This is where the students will dine twice a day, and it's where they will have their extended library programs during the day. Everybody can see this space. It's monitored by the staff, it's monitored by the teachers, it's monitored by the library, so everybody's in clear view. As you come in that front door, you can see this is your safe access upstairs to the classrooms, which can be locked down or opened depending on what's going on. If you come into the gym, this is the proposed middle school gym. Behind that wall right there is the adaptive PE space. This is actually a high school-sized basketball court, so it will double as JV. And this is a concept design, but we're trying to make it as playful and as mature as a middle school desires. And what you see there is also be open to the community on weekends and when school's not in session. This is the entrance into the recital hall. Again, this is your secured area, so only students and those with cards can go up those stairs. As you come into the recital hall, which again would be open to the public when desired, you can come into the recital hall here. It's been designed for your largest orchestra to play, like you've all seen in the gym for years. It does seat 900. There is a balcony space, and that's obviously accessible by elevator. There are 2 elevators in the school, 1 on each side. And as you come up, you can see what we've tried to do is make this as intimate a space as possible, so you're no longer sitting way back on those bleachers at the high school looking down at your student playing the instrument. When we get up to the second floor, we have our specials. So there's a STEM lab. The STEM lab is made up of fabrication space, robotics, as well as, I would say carpentry, what you traditionally have in industrial arts. Both of them open to an outdoor space. On the other side in yellow, we have 2 art rooms, and it's also open to an outdoor space, and it has a kiln room in between. This is the balcony that overlooks the recital hall, the double height space that you've seen from the commons below, more music up in this area, and then health and foreign language. So these are all of your specials. One of the things we tried to do academically is allow all the students to enter the school and go right up into their teams. They don't have to cross teams. They can, but they don't have to. And what that means is we go up to the 3rd floor. The third and fourth floors are exactly the same. Each team would come up a stair and go to their respective floors. The 4 colors represent 4 teams. The classrooms, as Brian noted, these are all now state requirements. And so the undersized classrooms of the existing school are replaced by classrooms that meet the state standards for middle schools. There is a team space which acts 4 major core curriculum classrooms, and then there's another space which is called the foyer for whole teams to meet or more education to take place here. These are special rooms. These are breakout spaces, small meeting rooms for students to get the needs that they need fulfilled. The third and fourth floor are exactly the same. As they come up the stairs, again, there's another door that can be locked down. And as they come in, this is a team space, or team space, if you will, where they have lockers down low so everybody can see. The sight lines between the classrooms are continuous. So what you can see from room to room, all 4 teachers having eyes on all students all the time. And it looks down into the commons, and it looks up into the skylight. We're bringing natural light into the entire core of the building, as well as you've seen the windows on the outside of the building. And we'll get into sustainability. So what you saw when we were going around in the videos is you saw solar panels on the roof. So the building's going to be designed to support future solar panels through a power purchase agreement or other method of getting the solar panels up there. What you've also seen is the building represents pretty much a square. The reason for that is we're minimizing the amount of exterior wall envelope. So we're maximizing the energy efficiency when it comes to thermal performance of the building. We actually have a 25% window to wall ratio. So even though you've seen all that glass on the outside of the building, it only represents 25% of the exterior wall. These are all guidelines and standards for multiple different green building systems, one of which is LEED, and we do intend to have the building LEED certified. Effectively, what we talked about, or what Brian has talked about, is in the end, if you take a look and you compare this to your existing school, we're going to be 23% more spatially efficient. So what that means is instead of all the walkways and corridors and hallways to get from one end of the building to the other after all of the additions, we are much more spatially efficient. So we're making good use of every square foot of the building. We also have 34% more square footage. So what that means educationally is there's a lot more space dedicated to the students when it comes to academics. It is 66% more energy efficient. So you can imagine as a new building in today's world with daylighting sensors, lighting controls, all LED lighting, the roof insulation, the windows and the walls. We have a geothermal system being coupled into the building along with solar hot water for the hot water demands. And so one of the big things that we learned from the students, they did a great presentation for us when we started this project, is sustainability and conservation is incredibly important to the students, and we heard that echoed from the community in every meeting that we had. They wanted to know what we were doing to make this a more cost-effective building going down and a more energy efficient, more carbon efficient, you name it when it comes to sustainability, we heard it. And it's also 27% less cost per square foot. So what that means is you have a certain amount of square footage now in your existing building. When this building is built, it will be 23% less cost per square foot. The timeline for the project itself is in March 2019, we started the process, and you all remember that deliberative session and that successful vote. We then went through schematic design right through to November of 2019 when Bowen Corporation, the selected construction manager for the project, presented to the school board a guaranteed maximum price for the project. So the numbers you're looking at today are guaranteed by the construction manager in terms of construction costs. And then we have soft costs right down to furnishing the entire building, and there are contingencies built into this. That's why it's called a guaranteed maximum price. The idea is it will not exceed that, but any savings are returned back to the district, as Dr. Morse had pointed out earlier. So here we are in March of 2020. The idea is that the vote will pass, knock on wood. And we will then start construction in May with early foundations, steel packages, and a site package. And so what we're trying to do is, as soon as the ground thaws, immediately start construction, and that avoids escalation costs going forward, because we're already into the ground. In May of 2020, that begins. Subsequent bids will go out in the summer of 2020. The new school will open in March of 2022, so essentially approximately 2 years. And then once the school is occupied in March of 2022, when the students come back and occupy it, the existing building will be taken down. In the summer of 2022, the fields will be built, the parking will be finished off, and we'll have a grand opening in August of 2022. And I'm going to pass this back over to Brian. You want that?
So obviously, the question is, how do we pay for this? Obviously, we go, as do any municipality or school district, we go to the New Hampshire Bond Bank. That's our source of funding anytime we do a project that we have to borrow. So what we decided to do as a board is we decided that we'll do a level debt bond over the 25 years. Level debt, very similar to your mortgage where your payment is the same all the way across. There are some slight variations in it, but it'll be the same. So it gives us a little more ability for budget management as far as fitting it into the budget. Right now, we're actually at the lowest bond issue in years. The most recent issue on a 20-year bond with the bond bank was 2.15%. Lowest we've seen in many, many years. Just to give you a reference point, the bond on this building in this auditorium is 4%. So, and that's one that's just going to be terming soon. We do have a guaranteed maximum price, as Ron said, of $49,847,732. So it's not going to be $1 over. We already know what it's going to be. I know a lot of times projects will go over budget. We've built in contingencies and everything else in there. We've been guaranteed by Bowen Construction that that is our top number. Construction costs do average about 4 to 6% a year increase, especially nowadays. So we're trying to get ahead of that, of those increases as well. And our high school bond retires in 23-24, and we're going to basically reallocate those funds into the new bond. So the timing kind of works out well for that. We've actually spent the last 5 years building up our funding in order to offset that in our first 2 to 3 years of this plan. So we don't have the tax spikes that you normally would see. So what happens if we delay? People always say, well, why don't we wait a couple years? Why don't we, put it off when things sound better? We don't know what the future holds. Nobody does. If we did, this would be a lot easier. But if we develop estimates of the cost, take into account inflation, construction costs, possibility interest rates will go up. Federal government has actually come out publicly and said they're not changing the rates right now, and they don't plan on them getting any lower than they are. Usually they're, like I said, their typical levels are around 4%. So what we did was in order to forecast this out, we used some certain assumptions. Those assumptions were on the conservative side. We figured 4% annual construction inflation, which is given to us by the architects. As I said before, it's 4 to 6% generally, so we'll use 4% as an annual construction inflation. We'll figure out if construction starts either now, 2023, or 2025. There are bond interest rates of 2.5% all the way to 4% considered for 23 and the 25 starts. Operating costs, basically energy and maintenance, are not included in these figures because the new building is expected to have a much lower energy and maintenance costs. So here are the numbers that we have on the consequences of delay. Basically, if we delay this project, as you'll see, here is today's number, $49,847,732, figuring about 2.5% bond rate. Those are our interest payments, total bond payments, and total bond payments assuming inflation. So the cost of delay obviously is zero. But some say, well, let's wait till 2023. Well, 4% inflation $56 million is our building cost. We'll probably be around 3.5%, we figure. So total interest payments go up $29 to $29 million. There's $11 million difference there. $85 million in future bond payments. Total bond payments of $62 million. So what's our cost of delay in future dollars? $16.4 million. In today's dollars, that would be $9.5 million. So that's our cost, and that's what we looked at as our cost of delaying. What if we wait? What happens? We end up spending more. Perfect example of this, if you buy milk, a gallon of milk nowadays for $3, a year from now it might be $3.10. You're getting the same gallon of milk, you're just paying more for it. Very similar aspect here. So we have to look at future value of money when doing this, and that's what we did. We go to 2025, now our cost of the project goes from 49 to 60 million. Maybe we're back up to around 4%. What does it cost us now? $28.5 million more. 15.6 is the cost of delay in today's dollars. So 15.6 million of today's dollars equates to 28.5 million in the future. So that's really what we looked at as why we're doing this now versus later. Really, it's kind of a positive, perfect storm of events going on in the economy that is allowing us to do that. And some wise budgeting by the board as far as the last few years is building up funds to offset this so we don't have that tax spike. What you'll see later in the budget, when Tom Newkirk goes over the budget and the effect on the tax rate, the first bond payments are already figured into the budget rate, and you'll see how into the budget, and you'll see how that affects you. So basically, we're at the point where we as a board, we're at a crossroads. We have to make a decision. We have to decide whether we're going to let the building determine how our children are educated, or if we're going to let the instructors determine how our children are educated, which is why we're asking for this school. This school has served us well. It has done a yeoman's work. Anyone that's been in that building, and if you haven't, I welcome you to go to the building and take a tour. It's underserving our children, and it's time where we actually have to make a decision on how we're going to move forward in this district. Are we going to value education, or are we going to, let this building fall apart? There are parts of this building that just cannot be fixed. We have pipes that are sunk 5-6 inches into cement that we just can't replace. Renovating this building is not going to fix our issues. We can update things all we want, but we're never going to reach the size classrooms we want. We're still going to have a humongous footprint that takes forever to get from A to B, and we're really not going to reach the goals we want of having a safe and secure place where children are well. Like I said before, our maintenance crew is doing outstanding work as far as keeping this building going, but this building is literally going on to its last legs. So we need to determine what direction we really need to go. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Any questions out there? No questions? I don't see. If you have a question, you have to step down to the microphone, please. Identify yourself and what town you live in. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Katie Ellis, and I live here in Durham. My question is about the LEED certification. How much does that cost?
So that's a great question. We're all familiar with LEED. It's the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, and it has certain levels of certification. So there's the basic certification, which we are pursuing. Based on the fact that we have been charged to do the most energy efficient building possible, given the project and such, that we feel basic certification is not increasing the cost at all, because we're already designing enhanced wall systems and roof systems and daylighting. Then there is silver, and there's gold, and there's platinum ratings. We're not currently pursuing that. We just want to make sure it has a basic level for citizens to understand the energy efficiency.
Thank you. Question?
I'm Kevin Dries from Madbury. I was curious to hear more about the design and plans for allowing solar panels to be installed in the building. That's really important to me, and I'm sad that they weren't included in the current plan, but I'd like to hear more about what we could do to add it in the future.
We actually are looking into that right now. We're actually working on a power purchase agreement, which basically how a power purchase agreement works is we don't actually, well, we would have the option to, but we don't actually purchase the solar panels. The company that does the power purchase agreement does that. They install it, they put it in, and they actually take the tax breaks because we don't, as a district, we cannot take those tax breaks. We're a nonprofit, basically. So our plan is to put solar panels on there. We're just waiting back, I think, on some response back from Revision Energy, who we're working with in order to do that. They will be on the roof and anywhere else we can put them that are eligible. We're actually going to be using them to heat water. Our ultimate goal with this building is to be a net zero building. Means we're expending enough energy, as much energy as we're bringing in. And that's ultimately our goal. And solar is part of that, as is geothermal. Geothermal allows us to, not use a lot of that air conditioning expense, that electricity and everything that happens with that type. That answer your question?
Darren Keller, Lee. First comment when we had the bond hearing a few weeks ago, just my input. I didn't like in the front of the building, you had what I would refer to as oddball office space. They weren't, they weren't rectangular or square. They had some angles. Just from experience, the furniture and or utility of those kind of spaces generally aren't very practical. My second comment or question is the filling of the school, desks, equipment. What's included and what's not? What are we at risk for subsequent years getting stuck to pay for that's not currently in the budget?
In the budget is all new furniture throughout the entire school. The only thing I think we're moving over, as far as I know, is the copying machines. Everything else will be brand new in that building, including the Promethean boards or whatever happens to be the modern ones at the time.
Any other questions?
My name is Tim Horrigan. I live in Durham. I was a student in that building, and you can see by my white hair, that was a long time ago. It was from 1968 when I was in 5th grade until 8th grade in 1971. And even then, the building was old and outdated and falling apart. So this is probably replacing is long overdue. So, the financial plan seems sound, even though it's going to cost a lot of money. What's the capacity of the school, and also probably 25 to 30 years down the road, you'll have to expand it. So where would they be expanding to, or is that too far ahead to think maybe? But
Nope. We are designing the school to fit 700 kids. Right now we have about 665.
Yeah.
That's about right. So that gives us a lot of leeway. I'll also go back to this area here. These two, this area, and this area are going to be reinforced with steel. And the reason why we're doing that, right now these are exterior terraces. This is not. The reason why we did that is that if we ever have to expand in the future, we can build on top of these. So we can put a classroom, all the way across for 2 floors. That gives us 8 classrooms.
Okay.
So if we do, our long-range planning committee has determined that the chances of that happening are slim, but we wanted to make sure we had that option in this plan, and we do.
okay, thanks. And I guess another question is, you're going to have the playing field in front of the school, which is a residential neighborhood. So how is it going to have lights, and how's that going to be handled for the
No lights. No lights at all. It's going to be a field, a full-size soccer field that can be used by anybody, but it won't be lighted.
Okay.
We specifically did that because of the residential neighborhood.
More questions?
Good evening. My name is Jean Nielsen. I'm from Lee. I was here at the informational meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I had brought up to the board questions about parking. This is going to be a 900-seat auditorium, and what I calculated, we're looking at about 106 parking spaces on the current plan, and did some research. Just would like to get an answer of how many parking spaces would be appropriate for 900. I know we talked about the thought of having people park down Code Drive, and I'm just thinking for a concert in the winter, I'm not sure you'd want to be dropping off elderly people, and then my other thought about the entrance, I wish that you could drop and pick up your children closer to the entrance, because as you do here at the high school, if it's a bad day or you have a sick child or whatever, you can pick them up right out in front. So those were two things. And then the other question I have for the architect is just the open concept. I know there's glass in there. I went to Bancroft Elementary School in Andover, Mass., and it was the new thing. It was all open concept. They ended up closing it up because of the noise, and that would be my only other concern, would be the noise level in there.
I'll do it in reverse order then. Yeah, so these areas are actually all separated. So it's not really open. See these doorways here? Okay, they are separated. So there won't be any noise going from each section to another section. Is that what you were?
More of the sound from the cafeteria coming up through
Oh,
the building.
it's all
And it
sealed.
will be glass.
It's glass, but it's all going to
yeah.
be sealed, and it's going to be
Okay.
soundproof glass.
So the biggest thing is the parking, the pickup and drop-off, and the reality of the amount of space for the buses. I know that I did some calculations, and buses are about 45 feet long. You need extra space. And so with 8 buses coming in, just how that's all going to realistically work. And so going forward with a vote, making sure that what we're voting on is what we're actually getting and not just, the conceptual drawing.
Well, the way the buses work now is they split the buses between the high school and the middle school.
Right.
And they pick up and then they flip.
Right.
And there's 8 on each one. So we have enough space to put 8 buses from here all the way down to there.
Okay.
We designed it specifically for that. Okay? So that's where the buses go. And obviously, like we said before, the intent was to separate it from the parent drop-off. Okay? We have an extremely limited site. We're about 11 acres, which is woefully small for a school of our size. We can only work with what we have control over. We can't make that lot any bigger. We have wetlands, we have everything else. So as far as making it safe and keeping it there, that's the best we could do. And believe me, we're trying to figure out, but I mean, honestly, that's the safest way. You can park here, you can park there. We're also going to have parking on Denison. I will say that the town of Durham has been extremely cooperative with us as far as the traffic committee sitting down and looking at alternatives as far as changing directions here. So we can possibly come up this way. You can drop off here all the way through and then go one way out this way. Take the traffic off of Baghdad, take the traffic off of Madbury, and keep it in Garrison. The way we were able to fill, if we filled it from here to here, how many cars did we say that was? That was a lot of cars. 80, I believe it was 155 cars. So that would take a lot of it away. But remember, we have parking here, parking here. The town of Durham is also looking to help us out, and we'll do some parking here. That'll get us about 200 spots parking.
Okay, because currently there's about 300 here at the high school, and...
Well, we have high school kids that drive to school. You're not...
Right, no, I understand that. No, I understand
Yeah.
that. My concern is that you have 900 seat capacity in the auditorium, and how you would fit everybody.
That's going to be a challenge. We can use a
Yeah.
shuttle bus and park them down at the high school, which we're going to do if we're under construction. Okay, we can also park all the way down Code Drive, all the way down to
Okay,
the high
that's
school, which is
that's
pretty
mine.
much what they do now anyway when there's a big, I remember the open houses, myself parking down past the SAU building.
Yeah.
And having to walk up, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of warrant Article 3 as written, please signify by raising your cards. All those opposed, please signify by raising your cards. Thank you. The next one will be warrant Article 4, presented by Tom Newkirk.
Moderator,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to restrict Article 3 from reconsideration.
There's a motion to restrict Article 3 from reconsideration. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion from the crowd? You understand what that is? That means once we pass it, as we have in the past, it doesn't come up again. So there's a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor of restricting warrant Article 3 as proposed? Those opposed? Okay, so carried. Warrant Article 4 by Tom Newkirk.
All right, I'll get it. Okay, I'll read it. Article 4, shall the district raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant article and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purpose set forth therein totaling $47,538,867. Should this article be defeated, the operating budget shall be $48,221,487, the default budget, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the district or by law, or the district may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 10:13, 10 and 16 to take up the issue of the revised operating budget only. The school board recommends this appropriation, majority vote required. Note, Fund 10 equals $46,073,817 regular operating budget. Fund 21, $824,050 expenditures from food service revenues. Fund 22, $600,000 expenditures from federal special revenues. Fund 23 equals $41,000 expenditures from pass-through funds. I'd like to move Article 4.
Is there a second?
Okay. It's an understatement to say that in framing this budget, we tried to frame a budget that would give the best chance of the bond passing. So the bond was on our mind right from the beginning. And that's caused us to make decisions and some hard decisions, but we wanted to create a budget that had the best chance of allowing the bond to pass. So we set as a goal, could we come up with a budget increase no more than 3.5% that included both the warrant article for the guild and that included the bond. So is that clear? We wanted to have a 3.5%, no more than a 3.5% increase that included both those things. And ideally, we wanted to have a budget where no community would have an increase of more than 3.5%. And that's a tricky deal because it varies from community to community. So that's kind of what we tried to do. And not to give away the end of the story, we did it. And there's some really kind of crazy numbers. And you all deserve to have this presented by an accountant or a number cruncher and not just a retired writing teacher. But, so I'm kind of like, I've tried to make a presentation that made sense to me when I was sitting in here. So I'm trying to give you as few numbers as I can that make sense of the whole thing. And if you want more numbers, we got them, okay? So let's go. Now, the difference, this is just from the warrant, okay? the difference between the proposed budget and the default budget. Take a look at that. So this is kind of Alice in Wonderland. Because if you vote for the Article 3, you're voting for a budget of $47,538,867. If you vote against it, you're voting for the default budget, which is $682,620 more. Now, this rarely happens. It usually happens when you have a very tight budget. I think it's happened twice since I've been on, I think it was 2012, I think we had there's a budget like that. And it's usually a sign that it's an extremely tight budget because you're allowed to carry forward certain costs, certain healthcare increases, contracts that you have with the various unions. So you're allowed to carry forward some costs, which makes the default budget higher than the last year. But this year, there's this huge difference. So if you vote against our budget, you're voting for an increase of almost $700,000. Got that? Okay, why is that? Why is that? And that's because the operating budget, which is the basic budget we work on, is increased only by 0.2%. So the operating budget is increased only by 0.2%. And that number also seems to be improbable. How could you have a budget that only is increased by 0.2%? Because you have contracts with unions, you have cost of living increases, you have increase in health costs. How could you have a budget that only goes up 0.2%? The answer to that is there's some savings, some minuses that we have in the budget that offset those increases. One of the minuses that we can subtract is the $800,000 that the district approved for developing the plan that you saw for the previous warrant. That $800,000 was a one-time cost in the budget last year. That doesn't have to be in the budget this year. The other thing that we did was we reduced the facilities budget by almost $750,000. And there were some tough choices here. For example, at Maharmet, we've done the first phase of the renovation of the front of the building. We're going to do the roof next year, but we're deferring the reconfiguration of the central offices. This is a very important project, and we're going to have to get on it as soon as we can because it increases the efficiency of the operation at Maharmet. But we're going to defer that and get to that as soon as we can, and that's a $330,000 project. We're going to defer the grandstands for the athletic fields. We figure this is not a central mission, educational mission, and we can defer that, and hopefully there can be some fundraising to pay for that. We're going to defer, and this is a tough choice, we're going to defer something that was on the plan, which would be to put air conditioning in the high school cafeteria. Important to do, but not absolutely necessary to do this year. Now, the reason these facility cuts are important is if we kept all that in the budget, it would increase the tax increase, particularly to Durham, to almost 5%. And we figured that would put a burden on Durham, and that kind of increase would possibly limit the approval of the bond. So it was kind of a decision we made that to be tight this year because we need a tight budget because we don't want to be asking for something like a 5% increase in the budget for Durham. Okay, so did we make our 3.5%? The answer is yes. So here I have, I've added the increases that would come, and this is not, so I've added the increases that would come if the bond passes. So we have the 2.2% for the general fund. If the bond passes, that adds 1.32% onto the budget, $625,000. If the guild contract passes, that adds $627,364, and that totals 2.83. So we have made it below our budget. There are other ways of calculating it, but I think this is the most direct one. So did we make our goal? Yes. The question is, what does that do in terms of tax impact? Okay. Now this is another chart that has some really strange numbers. So what happens, just hypothetically, if just the budget passes? Not counting the warrants. Durham's tax will go up 2 cents per thousand. Lee's would go down 78 cents per thousand, and Madbury's would go down 37 cents per thousand. Now, why is that? Why these negatives? And the answer to that question is that there's been this increase in money from the state, a big increase both to Lee and to Madbury. Increase of $421,000 to Lee and $237,000 to Madbury. So that makes a huge increase, a huge difference in the tax impact. Okay? And that's why the total impact for Lee and Madbury is less than Durham. So if you add in the proposed bond, which is be 27 cents per thousand for Durham, 42 cents for Lee, 40 cents for Madbury, and if you add in the guild contract, that'd be 28 cents for Durham, 43 cents for Lee, and 41 cents for Madbury. You come out to the bottom impact, which is Durham 57 cents per thousand, or 3.31%, Lee 0.07%, 0.07 cents per thousand, or 0.32%, and Madbury 44 cents per thousand, or 2.02%. So our projection is that each community, even if the bond passes and the warrant for the guild passes, would be under 3%. And also 3.5%. And I'd also say that in the past, our projections have been high. Over the past 8 years, I checked, and 20 out of the 24 projections have been high. So this is probably, according to history, this would be, it may be even quite less than this. So the point is we made our goal, that the tax increase in each of the communities will be less than 3.5%. So the final question then, what is the impact, for a house of 200,000, it would be $115 for Durham, $15 for Lee, and $88 for Madbury. For a house of 400,000, $230 for Durham, $29 from Lee, and $175 from Madbury. So in sum, we've worked hard, we've made some choices, but we think we have a budget that is as tight as we can make it, that meets our basic needs, and will help us pass the bond that we worked so hard to get to. So I'll stop here if there are any questions.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Dean Rubine from Lee. This looks like a great plan for this coming ballot where everybody wants the bond to pass, or if we want the bond to pass. Can you tell us what happens in future years? Or predict what the plan is for future years, perhaps?
Well, I think we all agree that the budget for next year is going to be even harder to come because we're going to take on more of the bond next year. So what the numbers, I can't tell you what the numbers are going to be, but I know that Dr. Morris is going to convene a group from the board to start working on that budget as soon as this one passes, hopefully, because it's going to be, next year is going to be hard because we're going to take on more of the bond and have to build more of the bond in.
Yes, sir.
Darren Keller from Lee again. So I'm a parent, but I'm also a taxpayer. And I really hope the board, as a body, listens to what I'm going to say. I do agree, we're at the point that we need to do the middle school. However, we need to be fiscally responsible. We have the situation where we're only a couple years away from paying off the high school bond. I'm trying to reserve myself here because I'm pretty unhappy with what I'm seeing right in front of my eyes. There's stuff online that is being promoted as 3.25% to 3.5%. And what I'm already sitting here listening to you talk about is, well, it's going to be a challenge, and I'm hearing, 365 days from now, what I'm suspecting is going to happen is we're going to come along, and guess what? We are going to be getting 5, 6, 7%. What I suspect is going to happen, you're going to go back to the regular 3% to 3.5% spend plus the bond on top of it. So I've also heard equivocation, and I've heard people saying, no, it's our plan, that's what we're going to do. If that's the case, if the board, if you want my vote for the middle school before the bond's paid off from the high school, will all of you sign on the line and basically say, I will pledge not to raise the rate above 3.5%?
I appreciate your question, but we're talking about the warrant article. Any further questions? This being none, those that support warrant article 4 as written, please signify by raising your card. Those who do not, please signify by raising your card. Thank you. Warrant article 5. Yes, sir. Motion has been made to restrict the article for reconsideration. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? The same as before, which means, as it has in the past, we don't go back and touch it again. All those in favor of restricting the article? Those opposed? That passes also, Mr. Secretary. Dan?
Good evening, everyone. Start off by reading Article 5. Article 5, shall the district vote to approve within the provisions of New Hampshire RSA 273-A:3, the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Oyster River Teachers Guild and the Oyster River School Board, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels. Year 2021, $627,364. Year 21-22, $771,534. Year 2022-23, $700,958. 2023-24, $701,554. 2024-25, $709,317. And further to raise and appropriate the sum of $627,364 for the 2020-21 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increases in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. I don't think I need to read the last part. School board recommends. I move to make a motion to move Article 5 as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second. Yes. Okay. So, major changes to the proposed guild contract. First, and one of the most significant changes, is the duration of the contract. Typically, we have negotiated contracts of 3 years in length. This contract is 5 years in length. The mutual benefit to the guild and the district, the school board, is sort of establishing greater certainty and predictability over a larger period of time. The proposed contract meets the board's goal of an approximate 3% salary increase over the next 5 years. Changes to medical contribution adjustment. This has been a board goal for some time to sort of recalibrate the percentages of contribution to be more consistent with industry standards. So in year 1, district share would be 84%, employee 16%. Year 2, district share 82%, employee 18%. Go back. Year 1 is district share 84%, employee percent 16%. Year 2, district 82%, employee 18%. And then years 3 to 5, we meet the objective that we've been sort of creeping towards over the past couple of contracts, which is a district share of 80% and employee share of 20%. Other changes made are changes to the observational sequence of the educators to match the professional development plan, and an increase in the staff development activity stipend from $300 to $400. Questions?
Any questions on warrant Article 5? Yes, sir.
Richard Kelly, Durham. Dan, just a quick question. So under this article, it's seeking to raise and appropriate that additional sum of $627,000 in the next fiscal year, 2020 through 2021. And I'm curious as to why that isn't in Fund 10 as part of the general fund that's covering staff salaries and benefits.
Dr. Morris?
So the reason it's not in Fund 10 right now is because every time we negotiate a new contract, it has to be approved by the voters. Next year, it will be inside Fund 10.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody hear that explanation? Because it happens when they renegotiate the contract, it gets into Fund 10 afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you. More?
Got my question.
Okay, next. There is nobody else.
Oh, I remember now. It says, I am Dean Rubine from Lee still. It says a 3% increase for the next 5 years on the salary, and it's easy on the warrant to read off the amount of the raises, but I looked through the budget and I couldn't really find the denominator, sort of the total amount spent on the guild, you know, that's covered in this agreement. So do you know that number, and do you know where I would find that number? Is the question.
Top of my head. Dr. Morris, I'll punt to you again.
We're conversing, Dean. There's always that question. Dean, if I'm going to summarize your question, is what is the base that we're...
Well, you got 3%, and it's 771,000 divided by something, yeah. So, yeah, what's the something?
We're looking to see if we have that number. If we don't have that number, we'll definitely give it to you.
I'm more interested on how to find it on an ongoing basis.
And the grand total, no, $16,715,984.
Okay?
Isn't $700,000 more than 3% of that?
FICA and benefits at 25%.
So that's only the salary and not, so it's not the denominator. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions on warrant Article 5? There being none, those who are in support of warrant Article 5 as written, raise your cards. Those who are not, please raise your cards. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to restrict the article for reconsideration.
Is a motion to reconsider? I know what he's going to do. No. Restrict the article for reconsideration. Is there a second? No. Is there a second? No, there is no second. There's a second by Mrs. Parson. Okay. There has been a second All those in favor?
Wait, I have discussion.
Discussion, sure.
Why are we bothering to restrict these things from reconsideration? I mean, we're all here, we're all going to go home.
It's been,
Maybe you guys can tell
it
me.
hasn't been our practice in the past, but that's what the board wanted to do.
It's not really a reason.
Well, everybody can make a motion, everybody can vote on the motion.
I'm asking, that's my question, I'm asking the board.
Okay?
Why-
Is there a reason why we've been
I'll withdraw my motion.
Withdraw the motion on the third one.
That's not an answer to the question.
But we didn't vote it. Okay. That may take us to the end before my friend Mr. Parson runs down here to do what he always does. Let me just say that on Tuesday, March 10th, I'll be looking for everybody in the town of Durham at the Oyster River High School, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The town of Lee at the Lee Safety Complex, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. In the town of Madbury, 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., and I'll be counting the ballots till about 9 o'clock that night. So, Mr. Parsons, sir, identify yourself.
John Parsons, Durham, and I move we adjourn.
Mr. Parsons moves to adjourn. Is there a second? Pick a person. All those in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned.